This is a portfolio and stock analysis system to analyze any of the over 8,200 stocks that we have. We will walk you through a trading plan, knowing when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell. That's what the crux of VectorVest is all about. This hot panel, we do these panels once a month. And it's most likely going to be me, I will host it, and we'll have different instructors appear here to give you different insight to different ways of investing. And even everyone up here invests in the market a little differently, so you get a little bit of a different flavor for everyone's ability to do what we do. Real quick, go through who we have here. Jerry D'Ambrosio is here. Steve Chappell is here. Jim Penna is here. And once we get started, they will tell you a little bit about themselves before they get into their picks. And again, big thing, if you like what you see here, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Biggest thing though, comment. This is the only way we can get to know what you want to see more of, what you like, what you didn't like. You guys have a voice, use it, all right? We're gonna start with my picks, all right? I am the host, and we'll get my picks out of the way because I'd rather concentrate on my colleagues' picks a little bit more so that you can get a feel of what they like or don't like. First off, again, my name is Glenn Tompkins, senior instructor, 16 years, just about 16 years. Everything that I've learned about the market, I learned from the VectorVest software. It doesn't make me a guru, it doesn't make me an expert, it just makes me a more informed investor. And that's what we try to get across to you guys. This is why you have a subscription to the software, or if you are new, this is why you might want to consider having a subscription to the software, and that is something that you all have an opportunity to take advantage of. So the first thing you'll see on our screen is all of the 10 stocks that we've come up with. What?
Someone said you have a great mug, and I said it's not true.
Wow, see, I got haters up here. That's all right. That's all right. Thank you, Claude. I appreciate that. You'll notice the first thing you'll see, we're going to have some fun, I can see that now, is a listing of all of the 10 stocks that we'll be talking about today. So each one of us, 2 of us have 3 picks, and 2 of us have 2 picks. But they all comprise 10 stocks. I want to show you something because, what's your name? Jim? Because Jim brought this up to me. Look at the bottom of the watch list average. The average stock in here has got a relative value of over 1, relative safety over 1, relative timing over 1. So you want to talk about hot stocks. This is what it's all about. We've comprised a really good list of stocks for you. And I'm going to start with the 3 stocks that I'm going to talk about. CPRT. I'm going to also talk about Visa. And if anybody out there knows me, what is the stock that I love the most? It's going to be Apple. So those are going to be my 3 picks from the list. Now, the reason why we put them into a watch list is so that we can quickly analyze them, see if they're under or overvalued, look at their indicators, RV, RS, RT, VST, our core proprietary indicators. If you are new to this, this is something that you definitely want to do. Look at your stocks or put them into a watch list before you do anything. Analyze your stocks. You can analyze them in less than 30 seconds, each stock. All right, so the 3 stocks that I'm going to be looking at are right here. Let's go take a look at those graphs. I'm going to go over to the graphs tab. And we're going to start with, in my case, Visa. So the whole idea this month is to look at stocks to swing trade. The whole idea of swing trading is to be in a stock for a couple of days to a couple of weeks. So I did a lot of the low-hanging fruit. I figure it's easy to find out what's looking good and run with that. But we will analyze the graphs to determine the best opportunities to get in, the best opportunities to get out, and if it's the right time to get in it. All right, first off, equity curve, bottom left, top right. A little bit of sideways move halfway through the graph, but overall the stock is still continuing from its bottom left to upper right trend. Another thing, earnings per share. Earnings is the engine that drives a stock's price higher. Now keep in mind, it's Visa. Just about everybody in the world, or in the country, however you want to look at it, maybe even on the planet. That's the world, isn't it? The planet is the world. Anyway, we'll have, huh?
Last I checked.
Last you checked, good. And the world's not flat. Okay. Everybody's got a credit card of some sort, whether it's a debit card or credit card, but they have either the Visa or the MasterCard logo. It makes sense that Visa is moving up the way that it is. Earnings per share, just growing over that 1 year time period, and earnings is the engine that makes the stock's price grow higher. Another thing that I have on my graph is volume. I want to make sure that not only is the stock moving up, but it's trading, and I do have an average volume, a 40-day moving average of volume, to not only show that the stock's price is moving up, but the volume is moving up and trading for the most part at or above its average volume, which means that not only is the stock going up, but people are definitely investing in the stock. I'm going to put this down to a 3-month. I do have moving averages, a 3 and an 8 exponential moving average. Now you sit and say, well, wait a minute, this is supposed to be the hot stack panel. What is Visa doing? Well, Visa's in a little bit of a channel, right? I've got a red level of support. Why? Because once it breaks down through support, it's normally a bearish move, so I denote that as a bearish move or a red line. But also knowing that the stock is not far from that level of resistance, sitting at 210.13. If you're not in the stock, I would definitely wait for 2 things to happen. 1, I am using 3 and 8 exponential moving averages. I would like to see the stock bounce off of support, number 1. And number 2, like to see the 3 and the 8 start to turn back up, giving me more of a bullish feel. Put those into effect together, you have a higher probability that the stock's price might break above that level of resistance and continue on with its upward move. Now, as far as getting into it now, I would wait. It's right at that level of support. Let's see if that level of support at 198.94 can hold. It's done it a few times. It did it here, here, it bounced here, and now challenging that level of support. But that's a good level, and Jerry likes to use this in a presentation, the best crowd mentality, something along those lines.
The ultimate crowd mentality indicator.
Ultimate crowd mentality indicator. I've liked it. I can't say it the same way he does, but it does make sense. This shows that the stock's got a probability, a good probability of holding here, but if it does fall, you probably don't want to enter it. If you are in it, leave it alone, and this is where the discipline comes in. This is, let that level of support manage the trade for you, but again, overall, like the earnings per share, I like the volume and for the most part, trading at or above that level of average volume. Anybody want to add anything to it?
I would probably wait for it to cross above resistance, personally. I think you're a little too close. You got resistance there at 210, stock's at 200 now. That's about a 5% move. If you did trade it now, you'd be looking at a 5% initial target gain to resistance. Support is right there, so you got a tight floor, right? You got an initial tight stop at support or just a little bit below support with only about a 5% initial profit target. Tight channel, me personally, I'd just wait for it to go above, cross above resistance.
I agree with Jerry 100%. What I see are lower high pattern in the channel, which is a little concerning to me. It means that there's actually a kind of a pickup on the short side of this market or the selling side of this market, whether that's profit taking or what have you. I think there's no question long term, Visa is absolutely one of the better stocks to think about. So it really comes down to perspective on what your objective is. I, though, with Jerry, would wait for the break of the high of the pattern.
Okay.
I'm going to go a little contrarian here and admit what I would have done. If you take the 3 and 8 off just for a second, Glenn, what if I were trading the stock, taking off my retirement hat, that second green,
Sure.
What's the name of that candlestick chair? The second one?
Right before, yes?
Don't turn, right, that one.
That's a doji.
Okay, so it hit support. We had a green, an up day, the day after support, the second up day. I would have bought it right there.
Sure.
And I would probably use support as your stop.
That's exactly right. I would have put a stop just below or at that support, but that would have been my entry point, and it would have felt good early today, but then not so much after. But that's how, looking without knowing where it is today, that's where, if I were trading the stock, I would have bought it there.
Yeah.
And good question. Jay brings up Visa or MasterCard. I could have picked either or. I just chose to go with Visa, but both of them, if if you look at them, are exuding pretty much the same characteristics.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to the next stock that I have, and that one would be CPRT in the business service miscellaneous. Let's put this back on a 1-year graph. Again, beautiful equity curve, bottom left, top right, very smooth in the pattern, not a whole lot of Glenism here, not a whole lot of jaggicity in the graph. And that's the epitome of a good solid stock, especially one to swing trade. Love the earnings per share. Volume is not as prevalent, I'm going to use that word, whether it's a good word or not, it sounds good, as the former stock. It is trading very steadily as far as volume, but really would love to see it above the average volume. But man, price action is just moving. Right now, put this back on a 3-month graph, stock is right at resistance. Look at that, one, almost, I'm going to call that in the zone, 2, 3, right at resistance today and came back down. But nonetheless, even when it has pulled back before, it's got the resiliency to continue moving higher, thus the reason why I'm using it as a hot stock. All right, anybody want to chime in on that one?
I'll jump in first, and I'll talk about this a little later when I'm up. But CPRT is one of the stocks for. I know there's some names here who are in our Tuesday session, but we do have this as a position in our income portfolio as a buy right, where we bought the stock. I think around 96, we sold the 100 call. Trade's still open. We got a nice profit on it, but very high relative safety number here. I love this stock, just like Visa, good long-term
Wanna go in order?
trade, a good whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Like the pick better.
Okay.
And you know, a little bit of softness on today's candle, but I think we're seeing that across the broad space of the market today. So, you know, we made these picks coming into today, not this morning. You know, so yeah, given that, you know, I do see a little bit of dark cloud cover on the horizon on today, but I think it's a solid pick.
And Mark says, wow, that's an awesome chart. Absolutely, Mark.
Yeah.
I wonder if you know anything about VectorVest.
Yeah, much better chart.
All right, let's go to my last pick, which happens to be Apple. You know something? No matter what, I can't get away from Apple. Everybody knows that Apple is, to me, the best stock in the whole wide world. Keep in mind, that is just my opinion. I'm putting that out there that way. It is just my opinion. I have personally made a boatload, and watch what you say, boatload of money on Apple over the years, and interesting where it stands right now. Apple had a hard time, something was going on. Apple had a hard time, it pulled back as far as earnings was concerned, still making over $12 in earnings per share. Then turned around and started moving back up. Understanding what Apple was going through a lot of the time prior to most recently is they were putting out their streaming services. And at that time, Apple's earnings growth went to -2%. And that's because of all of the money and all of the time and all of the effort that went into putting out the streaming services. Why? Because everybody's trying to catch up to the big boy, which is Netflix. That's another story for another time. But recently, the earnings growth went from -2 to 0, which is a positive spin as far as earnings growth, because earnings is the engine that makes the stock's price grow higher. And look at that, earnings is picking up. Volume is definitely in the picture. Now, what I've done though is help you to manage the trade or trade the stock at the right time. Apple is in a channel between 327.85, where the stock has been hitting new all-time highs, and a level of support sitting at 302.72. What has just happened? Nice little rebound, and actually as a trader, could trade these levels of support and resistance, or also put on a different indicator known as stochastics or RSI to trade the overbought and the oversold levels. But just bouncing off or retracing from support or resistance gives you a great opportunity to jump on board at the right time. A bounce here, even though it's a red candle, it's an open red candle where the price started at the bottom, went up, is still going up. Today, just as Steve said, across the spectrum, a little softness on stocks across the board, but where is it retracing from? Resistance. Another good entry point would be waiting for it to break above that level of resistance before you pull the trigger on it. And if anybody's out there still holding Apple, this is again where the discipline kicks in. It's in a channel. This is where you don't panic. Now, if the stock price breaks below that level of 302.72, which is a good level of support, that's probably a good opportunity to at least take half off the table or pull the trade off the table nonetheless, and capture your profit that you probably have made from back here. But if you're not in it yet, I still like it as a hot stock because historically the stock's price is moving up. All right, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So there you go. Anybody want to add to that or take away from that or anything?
Yeah, since Glenn's sticking to it, I'd short it here. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm just kidding. No, I agree.
I agree with Glenn. Same thing. Real close to resistance. Wait for it to break above. It's a very narrow channel. Glenn, zoom in there again.
It's about $20.
$20 on a $300 stock. That's about 8% or so. So it's a pretty narrow channel. It's tough to trade
in 2 days.
In 2 days, bouncing from support in an 8% channel when you retrace from support. Next thing you know, you're at resistance already. Yeah. So it's a little tough with this one. I'd wait for it to break above resistance. Obviously, you still have a pretty tight floor. You're not going to lose really any more than 10% if it breaks down through support. So,
and that's a key thing for me, especially if you are swing trading. Make sure that you lock in profits. Don't let your loser get away from you big, because as soon as that happens, then you start making emotional decisions about your next trade. Stay disciplined. That's why all of us are going to give you points to get in or points where to get out to manage the trade. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.